Hello and welcome to the tutorial on LearnML video series. So in this tutorial we will be learning about conditional operator and nested if statements. In the last tutorial we learned about conditional statements in Python, which were if, else, and elif. These were the conditional statements in Python. But in this tutorial we will be learning about conditional operators. Conditional operator, which only works, which is normally used for two numbers if there is only a if and else condition. Only for if and else condition. Like, let's see the example. Let's do the example of finding the greater of two numbers. Suppose we have a number a which is assigned a value of 8, and we have a variable b which is assigned the value of 13. Here, when we normally write for if statement, we write if a greater than b, print a, else print b. This means if a is greater than b, print a, if else print b. But by using the conditional operator we can write this in a more simplified way. Like a, if a is greater than b. So this is more like a list comprehension. We'll say if a greater than b, the value should be a. That means if a is greater than b, the greater should be a, and else b. That means if a is greater than b, the value should be a. So if this condition is not true, that should go to the else and the b should be greater. So whatever the value comes from this expression, we will keep it in a variable known as max. So let's print max. So let's see 13. So when this statement is run, at first it checks if a is greater than b. A is 8, b is 13, 8 is greater than 13, that is false. That means it goes to the else statement and assigns the value of b to max, and the value of max is printed out, that is 13. We can also, okay, let's swap the values of a and b. Now save it and run. So now it checks if a is greater than b, means 13 is greater than 8. True. So when this condition is true, it gives the value of a to max. So using conditional operator reduces the number of lines and steps of your program, so it makes it more simplified. So this was for conditional statements. Okay, and before going on to the nested if, let's check or let's calculate the greater of numbers between three numbers. Let's say the greater of three numbers, that is a and b are 13 and 8, and let's assign a value of c for 24. Okay, normally we write if a is greater than b and a is greater than c. That is, if a is greater than b and a is also greater than c. If a is greater than both b and c, that is print a. That is print a is greater. Yeah. Elif. Okay. The first condition was when a will be greater, but sometimes b also can be greater. So we can say if b is greater than both a and B is greater than C. So in this case B should be greater. Yeah. Okay. Now from the if condition A and B are fulfilled, that is whenever A is greater it is shown, whenever B is greater it is shown, whatever for number C. So if both of the conditions doesn't match, or if both of the conditions are false, that goes to the else part, because we have no more conditions left. So in this case C should be greater. Okay, let's check what prints out. 24 is greater. So we have A is 13, we have B as 8, and we have C as 24 here. So at first it checks the condition. If A is greater than B, is A greater than B, that is 13 is greater than 8, yes it is true. And is A greater than C, that is 13 greater than 24, so this one is false. So this whole statement becomes false, because we have used an AND operator that justifies, or that requires that both of the conditions should be true. So this block is discarded. So it goes to the next condition. If B greater than A, so B 8 greater than 13, false. So the first condition is false, so it doesn't bother checking the next condition here. So this block is also discarded. So remains a else part, which is by default true. So C is greater. So if A is also not greater, B is also not greater, then of course C is greater than both A and B. Let's swap this, please. Let's swap the values. 8, 24, 13. In this case we can see 24 is greater, that is B. So the elif part should run. B is greater. To make it more simplified, we can just print it out. B is greater. Here also A is greater, C is greater. Yeah. Okay. In this case A should be greater. A is greater. Okay, this is how we do, we compute the greater between three numbers. But we can just do the same thing using nested if statements also. Let's see how. In this we have checked both the condition in the same line, but in nested if, at first we check the condition, first condition, and if the first condition is false, we enter in the first if block and check next condition. Like if A is greater than B, okay, if A is greater than B, yes, true. Then again it checks if A is greater than C. So at first it checks if A greater than B. Okay, is A greater than B? Yes. Or if A is greater than B, then is A greater than C also? For that, it enters in this first if block and checks for next condition, if A greater than C. Okay, if that is also true, it says print A is greater. Now it comes out of the both of the if conditions, and again it checks if B greater than A. Okay, if B greater than A, yes, and if B greater than C also. Okay, yes. Then it says print B is greater. Now as before, the greater of A is also fulfilled, and for B is also fulfilled. So for the defaults now, it says we can also use else part for this if, or we can assign next if, like is C greater than A, if C greater than B, here print C is greater. So let's take what comes out. A is greater, because A is 24, B is 8, C is 13, and here is 24 greater than 8, true. Is 24 greater than 13, true. So print A is greater. So after this is checked, it doesn't bother checking others. So although it checks, it comes out false, so it doesn't print out here. It checks this also, so it doesn't print out here. So using nested if usually takes a lot more time, because it checks all of these conditions, even the first one is fulfilled. That's the only difference here with using this and using this. Here, if the first condition is true, the program is terminated in this point. It doesn't bother checking these all. But here, although the first block runs, it also checks the others. Okay. So let's solve the values. 8, 24, 13. Now see, B is greater, because B is 24, so of course B is greater. Yeah. Okay, for clarification and show you whether the program runs till the last if condition. Let's say if 2 greater than 1, if 1 less than 2, print C is greater. So now it should print out print B is greater also and print C is greater also, because as per our A, B and C values, B is greater, so the program should be terminated here, but we are using the next if statement below that, so this should also run. So both of them runs, so it takes more time, more space, so this is not necessary, not used, or I do not recommend using this for this type of statements. Okay guys, thank you for watching. Please feel free to comment for any queries, like my videos, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.